Hello, everyone, and welcome to my podcast. Today I'm going to talk about Jivatman versus Paramatman, which are two terms used in Sanatan Dharma in the Hindu tradition to represent the individual soul and the great soul or Supersoul of God. And I find these two terms, Jivatman and Paramatman, to be extremely useful in describing the different levels of reality, the different layers of the soul, you could say. Because sometimes we can get confused because people talk about karma and doing spiritual practice and purification in our soul, traveling from here to another life, all of these things. But then you hear, you are God. You are pure, boundless awareness. And if you think deeply about those things, how do you reconcile the two? You hear, you were never touched by karma. You were never touched by sin at all. So here's how it is. The Jivatman, the little soul, is the part of you here right now that's separated from God, from its true essence. Didn't really separate because it's always in it, but took the experience of separateness and entered upon this wheel of samsara, of wandering, of birth and death. It is the entity that has been traveling through these millions of lives. Some scriptures say 8 million to reach a human birth. Some say even more than that. And you who are traveling are Jivatman. That is the part of the soul that carries karma from lifetime to lifetime, that carries energetic coding and patterns that determine everything from where you're going to be, who you're going to associate with, and how long for, what work you're going to do, what practice you're going to do. The whole game is interesting because it's encoded in your karma, in your Jivatman, like a psychic DNA code. And you're attempting through your sadhana, your spiritual practice, to remove the blocks in the aura, in the soul, so that there's no separation between Jivatman and Paramatman, the great soul. But we're always creating new karma whenever we act with intention, or even through just our thoughts, such as when Jesus said, if you even look at another woman with lust, you've already committed adultery. Another way of saying that is, if I let the mind be obsessed and dwell on lust all the time, I'm creating new karma. I'm creating psychic DNA patterns that are going to carry with me. And so there's karma that is unripe, that is hidden within the Jivatman, hidden within the DNA code, waiting for the right circumstance to bring it forth. And then there's karma that is controlling what will come, what is happening, but how we deal with each present moment determines if we create new karma or not. And if we can cut off the root of this delusion of ego, of separateness of I, and see there's no I, no ego, no doer, then there's nobody becoming nobody, because there's nobody to create the new karma. And that's when you come into the essence of the soul, which is Paramatman. And that's the place Jesus Christ talks from, and the place Krishna talks from, and the place Buddha talks from, and all of the great saints and enlightened beings throughout time and space. That space is the one in which you have recognized your essential oneness with Brahman, with the ground of reality. So you can imagine this physically. It is said in a human being that the Jivatman manifests in the right side of the heart, about the size of a thumb. Obviously, in animals and other insects that are much smaller and other forms of life, it would manifest differently. But within that Jivatman, there is Paramatman, the fine point of the soul, of which it is said this Paramatman is smaller than 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. So it's basically nothing. Yet it is greater than all the worlds. So that is what you actually are in your essence. But all the planes function at the same time. So you are both a soul on a journey, and you are God, or it could be called the boundless nature of existence. You are everything and everyone, but you're also you. So it helps to understand both of those. You're working to do your sadhana, to purify your karma, to be born in heaven, to obtain enlightenment, to have the best possible outcome in this life and the next, while at the same time, when you're in Paramatman, you know nothing ever happened. This is a dream. Nothing's ever going to happen. You were pure right from the start. There's no karma. There's no coming and going. It's the space Swami Ram Tirth talks about when he says, I was never born, nor had I parents. Many of the sages say this, I was never born, nor had I parents. So what are you that was never born, nor had parents? He said, I am bliss, absolute, knowledge, absolute, and consciousness, absolute. He said, I am in everything, and everything is in me. He said, I am the bliss of eternity. Everything am I. So realizing these two facets helps me have a great understanding of how the universe is functioning, how it's operating, and how it is all contained within me. And so your ego, who you think you are, the name you call yourself, that is the most outward manifestation, that in the physical body, of both Para and Jivatman. So first, we have to realize we are not close to exclusively the body and mind. As Ram Dass always said, you're not who you think you are. The little analytical mind with the name is passing show. When we talk about getting into our soul, it's something a little beneath that. And the Paramatman is a little beneath that. Yet, ultimately, it is all one, and it is all held together. So once we go through realizing we are not the body, we are not the thoughts, we are nothingness, in another essence, in another aspect, we are all of it. The body and the thoughts is all Brahman, is all God. But first we have to go through it, realizing we're not it in the way we think we are, to be able to come back to it in the true form, in the true way of seeing, you could say, the more pure way of seeing. So I will leave you with this, and I hope that it helps you on your path as much as it helps me. Hari Om.